The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you ready to take a journey? Let's connect with the healers of the world. It's that time. It's time for the Language of Healing on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Now here's your host, Emotional Wisdom Training Specialist Nicole Fortin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Language of Healing. We have a great show for you today. I'm very excited about our guest, Nancy Jones, facilitator of the Transformation Game and author and Masters of Arts. And so just a bit of context for you about the topic of our show today. It's titled, "No One Can Stop My Magical Ass." And I just love this. I can so relate to that statement and that the power of what's driving that. And so earlier this week, I was a guest on another show with Gina Gardner called Leadership for Life. That is also a radio TV podcast that you can find on the W4CY media channels, and we talked about being the captain of your own ship. And I think today that topic really relates to no one can stop my magical ass, because being the captain of your own ship means that you recognize where you are at presently and you know where you want to go. So when you are literally from point A to point B, and the transformation that is involved in those phases. But getting on the ship, you get on the ship and you know where you're going. And there's so many, I love this metaphor because you can use it in relation to life in so many ways, like sailing through the open seas. Sometimes they are rough, sometimes they're smooth. We encounter storms, night and day, tidal waves. Sometimes we get holes in the boat. We have to mend them. Sometimes the boat even sinks. Sometimes you get lost. There's so many variables about being the captain of your own ship and what that entails. And I like it because it brings in a little bit of fun to life. If we imagine that we're on the open ocean, being led somewhere, guided somewhere, following our compass, our inner compass, our navigation system, and we have our crew members on board, the people that are supporting us on this journey, getting to where we want to go. And one thing, so I can relate to getting on this ship and sailing the seas, literally traveling across oceans, but just in regular life intentions. So setting an intention and having the steps that support that intention. So where is my attention going? It's going on what is supporting my intention and what I really want, and what's not going to weigh me down too much, right? And one step in my journey, this was a couple years ago, I went to New Zealand, and Nancy came into my life a few years back, and I was always very drawn to her. Her energy is very uplifting, and I can't help but get jazzed when I'm around this woman. And she is the facilitator of the Transformation Game, and we're going to hear a little bit more about that. But for me, playing this Transformation Game, it really helped me get more clear on what my intention was. And my intention was at that time, I'm going to New friggin' Zealand. And it was this desire that I had wanted, but to really stay focused and stay on path. I had to map out the steps that were required to get there, because I could have easily turned back around, not followed through. And so the transformation game and that metaphor of life, of going from point A to point B, Pain Island to Pleasure Island on this magical sea. Yeah, it's something that's very close and dear to my heart. I really love supporting people with their passions and desires, because that's what really drives and motivates us to do more in life. Or you don't necessarily have to want to do more, but recognizing that there's so much more to us. If our brain is we're only using a fraction of our brain, like just imagine the possibility of what it would be like to maximum potentialize everything that we are and can do. And so we'll leave you with that little context there. And I'm really excited. Now we'll introduce our guest. She has some great things to share. And let's welcome Miss Nancy Jones.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Nancy.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You have a beautiful background there with some nice plants and good life.
This is my office, and it's magical, so I feel good about it.
Yeah, okay, great. It's gorgeous. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to lately?
Well, lately, it's interesting because what you just talked about makes me think about there's a card in the transformation game. There's an angel called the Risk Angel. And oftentimes when that angel comes up in the game, I think of choose to chance the rapids and dare to dance the tide. It's like a rock and roll life if we choose it to be, and a magical experience. Not so much, there's a quality of life that happens when that happens. And that's what's happened to me lately. I've moved to Colorado from Arizona. I've been in Arizona for 30 years, so I've been in Colorado a year and a half. That was me choosing to chance the rapids and daring to dance the tide. I found this place in Colorado, and I'm doing the game now. I've been working on it for 4 years over the internet, so I'm doing that. I was recently asked to write a chapter in a book of Wonder Women over 50, which I'm definitely over 50. I think I'm the oldest one in the book. And it's about life experiences. So I said yes to that. And it's easy to say yes sometimes, or you can say no. Which do you think is easier? Sometimes it's not real easy to say yes. I'm also writing a book about a little boy that has a lot of medical issues and his pathway to connect to spirit. So I'm always in some sort of adventure.
Good. Yes, that's true. What I know about you is you're very adventurous and, and taking risks, and you're not one to really limit yourself. From what I know about you, I'm really curious to know more about your experiences. What kind of experiences are you talking about in this chapter, which you have titled "No One Can Stop My Magical Ass"?
Yeah, well, that chapter came out of thank you for taking 100% responsibility for your life. That's another card in the transformation game. A card I don't necessarily like all the time. I'd like somebody else to take responsibility. But the fact is, our dreams are our dreams. My dreams are my dreams. And I either choose to acknowledge them and take steps to make them happen or don't. So one of the Nancy Jones quotes is never downshift to a lower dream. And that just makes a smaller you. So I choose as much as I can to step into the power of a bigger me. When I not bigger, more quality.
Mm.
More
Right. An enriched version.
Yeah.
With depth and yeah.
And a grounding in all of that, so that my people that play the game with me know that I'm going to be grounded with them, that we're going to use what would be their highest good for their highest good and their highest dreams.
Right. It's like uncovering what they truly desire, gathering more information around that. Can you share a little bit more about the game, just for those that might not know the transformation game, because you're talking about these cards and
it's over 40 years old, and you don't have to play with a facilitator. You can play on your own. You play with a specific intention, something you want to have happen. I don't necessarily like the word manifest, but it's like something you really believe in, not a New Year's resolution, but a true dream. And that dream, what happens when you play the game, at least with a facilitator, is that blocks are revealed to you, things that are in the way, and some of them you know about and some of them you don't know about, and some of them you know about but you haven't faced, and there's a part that has strengths, and it shines a light on those and helps you step into those. And then there's a spiritual component to the transformation game in the form of angels, and that kind of underlies the whole process of what happens in the game. And when I say you don't have to do it with a facilitator. When you play with somebody like me, you get experience and somebody that's going to hold your feet to the fire.
Right. Make you say it out loud a lot.
Some people want that and some people don't. You decide how much you're willing to have things shift and change.
Right. So through the transformation game, we're visiting the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual levels. Is that right? And
not on the intention, and we're already on all those levels anyway. But what happens with the game is it's a unique experience to separate it out and see where the strengths and the blocks need to be recognized, and what patterns need to be not need to be, but what patterns come up for you that are repeat patterns that don't fit you anymore. That's kind of what you're looking at. What doesn't fit anymore? I drew some, what doesn't fit anymore. And you had asked about what I wrote in the book about my life experiences. And it was interesting because when I wrote that chapter, I just let the experiences come up that wanted to be talked about, because I've obviously, like all of us, I've had a lot of life experiences. So it was interesting what came up and what didn't come up, and what I've discovered is that one thing leads to another. So one experience, like you going to New Zealand, supports you being able to do this talk. It's like one thing supports another. So it's interesting because everything fits together to make the life that we have. And as I keep choosing to expand, sometimes I wonder about that, but I'm not done expanding. So that's where my magical ass comes in. It's like, I'm not going to stop. Why would I stop? I am indeed, I just turned 74 years old. And so I've had a lot of years of living. And I have a lot of years more. And what I choose to do with that is write books, facilitate the game, and be the best me I can be, and help other people be the best them they can be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the message around that every experience or every situation really contributes to who we are today. And we can say that, but the real depth and enriching opportunity that that brings is what you're, you know, talking about here.
And having the courage to step into whatever situation and role you're called to do, I'm called to do. Whatever.
Right. All our dreams are so different, right? And then to have someone such as, you know, say we're playing the transformation game, or you have a coach or a mentor or someone that plays the role of that navigation or that anchor post, you know where you're at and where you're going. And I lost where I was going with that.
It's about having the courage to leap those
talks. Right. Yes, like to go forward, you know, because your dreams might not be in alignment with everybody, right? So find those that are on your team that will support your vision. Okay, so how can people play this game? Because I was in person, but you said you've been doing it online now, so I imagine you're reaching a global audience with this. And
I've played with people from all over the world over the internet, usually one at a time. But the New Year's game, I had 6 people they were all from the United States, but there were 6 people from 6 different states. That's the most I can play at one time over the internet. And takes about a day and a half to play with one intention with that many people. If you're playing by yourself over the internet, it's 3 to 4 hours. So
you're going around the board. It's been a while since I've really played, so
each person has a life path, their own life path, and if it's a one-on-one game, it's intense because there's no downtime. You just roll and move your mover and draw your cards and process the information that comes to you. And then there's a follow-up session with me afterwards, about a week afterwards, to take the information that you've gleaned out into the world. You know, see how it's going and see what's processing and see how many more games would be beneficial for you to plug into. So.
And what are some of the, you know, experiences or results that you've seen others go through on their journeys?
My people play multiple games, most of them, and it was interesting because I just drew a handful of intentions. You know, the one intention is I intend to embody and celebrate love, joy, and miracles. Now, this is a unique person who would sit down to play for 3 hours for love, joy, and miracles in her life. And she'll tell you what happens. You know, it's like it happens. You look at what's blocking it and what can support it happening. There was one recently where a person played for money. And that doesn't always happen in the transformation game. I intend to receive a minimum of $1,500,000 in 2021 through evolved, authentic, empowered action. Now, notice this person did not say, I think I might receive this. She said, I intend to receive it. And she also, and I'm saying she's a she, evolved, authentic, empowered action is what she chose to do to have this happen. So for her, she didn't say, I'm going to sit around and pray for this. It's not an own situation. It's evolved, authentic, empowered action. So it's not hedging her bet, which is like, I think I might like to have that amount, but you know, it might not happen. With the transformation game, what you want to do is actually with your whole life, whether you're in the game or not, you don't have to have the game to fully step into the reality.
Like committing, jumping both feet in.
Yeah.
And then playing with you're like holding my feet to the fire.
Well,
holding our feet.
As much as people want to be held. And
right.
Sometimes now the game is generational, multi-generational. So other there's other influences, right? And it can be multidimensional now in a game. We can shift dimensions, and we can shift, I'm assuming, and definitely multi-generational. I just recently did some work myself with the game, and 4 generations of women came into the game. So
you're talking multi-generational with, you know, ancestors and family. And when you say multi-dimensional, what does that mean? Is that like parallel universes?
Well, it's a time.
Like
the time. It's a time. It's like the old children's book, A Wrinkle in Time. It's like there's a time shift. You know, it may have happened. It may not be multi-generational. It just may be multi-dimensional. So, you know, or it could be both. And because of the work I've done, this is an example of choosing to live my life the way I've chosen to live it. Because of the work I've done, I'm able to hear that and see that and feel that, and encourage my people, if they're ready to do that, to step into that as well. So
yeah, I had this thought this morning actually about parallel universes, you know, and thinking about all the different levels that we have set intentions, or that, you know, that are operating, you know, like one on top of the other. I don't know. I just had this vision of so many channels feeding the same life, if that makes sense, right? Like we're so much more complex, and yeah, and it's fascinating.
One of the stories I talk about in the book is I was in charge of a large daycare center for kids that had emotional trauma, and it was big, and I had a board of directors, and it had been around for many years. And because of my secretary came into my office, and she said, there's a man in the hallway with a gun. And I said, did you call 911? And she said, no. And I said, get down on the floor under my desk and call 911. And I walked into the hallway, and because I had been trained in the past as a parole officer and a crisis intervention person, I knew how to walk up to the man, lock eyes, and say, hi, I'm Nancy Jones. And I would not have known that if I hadn't had that experience, if I hadn't been trained in dissipation of crisis situations. So when I knew he wasn't getting by me, I had absolutely no fear. I only had intention. Hi, I'm Nancy Jones. And he transferred his gun to his left hand and shook my hand, but shook my right hand. And he said, I need to get my daughter. And I said, I know you do, and we're leaving the building right now. So the key with that is locking eyes, not changing my energy whatsoever. But I learned that. I learned that 2 years ago. If I hadn't had that, I don't know if I could have dissipated that. So it's like learning that and walking through it changed what happened. And it changed me because I knew that I could do that. That's one of the things I share in the chapter, because without that pathway, I don't know if I could have done that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, Nancy. I like that. I can imagine the locking eyes is such a key, you know, there must be some transmutation, you know, like transmitting information with the eyes when you're really in line with that intent and coming at it with the skills and the tools available to handle a situation like that.
Well, and that's when you go into your life with your alignment of intention, and you look at that intention with those same eyes, reach out your right hand and shake hands, you know, see if it moves it to the left. You know, it's like that's taking 100% responsibility for your life and not downshifting to a lower dream.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes, exactly. It's a pretty powerful example for sure. And you know, that energy comes with it, that it's unstoppable, right? It's a ship like sailing. You better, you know, just naturally things you know, not move out of the way, but the pathway is created like that way, right? So you're the chapter, no one can stop my ass, what is it? Creative pathways for expanded living, right?
Yeah.
So that's
and saying yes to opportunities that present themselves. You know, that one I didn't have a choice. Well, I suppose I did, but not really. And so, but there are pathways where, you know, I've had a choice. But who I am is I want to be open to possibilities. So I want to be open to taking 100% responsibility for my life. So I generally say yes. I didn't particularly want to guide the transformation game, but
how did you get into facilitating that?
I first heard about it in 19. Now get this year. I heard about it in 1976, and traveled to Findhorn in northern Scotland and experienced the community, and then came back home. And in 2010, I guess it was, I heard about it through a friend, that facilitation thing was happening, that they would be training facilitators. So it's a long story, but.
So almost 25 years before you started facilitating, you had traveled to play this game and experienced.
I played it in 2004, I think it is, for 7 days with one intention: to unblock anything in my way of doing my life purpose. And right now, this is my life purpose. Right now, and mine can change, but mine has to do with love, giving love to the world, any way that opens up to me. And for now, this is it. The transformation game helps support people stepping into their own love and being their best selves, which hopefully we're all about.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we not do that? You know, the world is like in a lot of pain, and those of us that know how to tap into the joy, I feel my responsibility to take 100% responsibility for increasing the joy and love in the world.
And you do that very well, holding space for people in this way. You know, it's like you said, you can do it on your own, right? You can play the transformation game on your own. You can obviously live life, doing life, getting your dreams on your own as well. But the support and the encouragement from the group, or from, you know, it's like setting, okay, this day I'm gonna meet Nancy and play this game, and a dedicated time of intention towards my desires and my dreams, you know, is more potent. Like I can feel your energy, you know, when you're talking about your passion and your purpose, that's so on point. And I'm just naturally magnetically drawn to, oh, I want to know more. You know, I want to explore this game. And
well, it's aligning all your chakras and your whole self to your purpose, your dream. You know, we have a right to have our dreams, and it's not only a right, it's a responsibility to know and for years I had trouble knowing what my dream was. I knew what my dream was in certain areas, and I always knew when I was working with kids or whatever, I always knew a dream then. But my own personal dream about joy, and
it is hard to really get clear on that. How do you support people in creating their intention at the beginning of the game? Because that's, you know, we could say, oh, I want money, I want, you know, for it to really be like, I don't know, in true alignment. Is that?
one thing
Is there a process for that?
I'm good at it. And that just means I help people hone in on what their soul is saying to them. So it's about your higher power, your soul, and the angels that are there at the game. I have on my YouTube channel, and also where you can learn more about the game, and my website, you can learn more about the game there too, and more about me. But on there's a link where you can click to have a free 30-minute talk with me about setting intention. And I just, help you hone in on what you really want to embrace, not just, I want to have a new pair of shoes on Wednesday. It's not about better eyebrows or shoes. It's like, it's about what your soul wants for you. So.
Right. Yes, that word, that embrace. I'm remembering now how that was quite a key word in that process. Embracing. And like you said, that one example with embracing, what was it? Joy and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can do it. You can play on the surface. I mean, you can play for shoes or better eyebrows. I mean, you can play on the surface, and there's joy in the game. I mean, there are miracles that happen, just like there are miracles that happen in life. The card I drew this morning, a setback card that I drew before I sat down here, an unexpected crisis provided an opportunity for you to actualize your inner strength and power. And I think that's what the pandemic did to us.
Right.
And just to note that the transformation game has been around for over 40 years. And the cards that you draw to you, like I drew this one this morning, it gave us a portal. So
could you read that one more time?
An unexpected crisis provided an opportunity for you to actualize your inner strength and power. And that's what we're doing. It's a portal. So if we look at the pandemic as a portal to actualize our inner strength and power, it's us taking 100% responsibility for our dreams. At no point did Martin Luther King or any famous dreamer tell us to let's all downshift to a lower dream. We're in COVID.
Right. We've almost been asked to really ramp it up. Like you mentioned, who doesn't want to live a better life? I had similar thoughts at the beginning of this last year that, well, what if we really did take this opportunity to be better humans, be better to ourselves, listen to what it is we really want and honor that and value our life and the people around us a little bit more with more meaningfulness and purpose.
Well, quality of our relationships with ourselves and everybody else, using it as an opportunity to amp that up, which most of us have done. We've done that. I mean, most of the people I know in my life have used this as an opportunity to amp that up. I mean, the 6 people that played for 16 hours over the New Year's from 6 different states, I guarantee you are not watching The Price is Right on TV. They're like making their life and the life of other people better. That's who they are, and that's why they played.
Yes, amazing. Oh, just breathing that in, like the whole world expanding. That's your message, right? Being more open and expanding to the opportunities that are coming, because the challenge is, like, even when you're on the ship on the ocean, like you're overcoming challenges, and you either like turn back or you keep going forward with more strength, more robustness.
Well, and I'm not sure which part to share. Um, it's the other card I drew this morning, a setback card. That's me. I've always been that way. I can't help it. That's just my nature. That's
good one.
of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, right? That's me. I've always been that way. It's the opposite of breaking the habit of being yourself. And in the transformation game, you're given the opportunity to break the habit of being yourself. You're given the opportunity to shift patterns that no longer serve. And that card no longer serves any of us if we're moving forward. That's me. I've always been that way. That's a hedging your bet card. That's it's not going to move you forward.
I remember when I played the game, that was one of my, I believe maybe I pulled something similar because I had an awareness after playing the game that I stopped myself more than, or I incur these penalties upon myself, by choosing to take on, like just beliefs or believing that I need to be in pain or something like that, right? How does that serve me? Adding more stress or conflict when actually, no, it doesn't.
Or that it needs to be difficult.
Right.
That's another one.
Like life is hard.
Yeah, and that's an old learning. That
right.
It's like, and we can choose to have a difficult situation every morning if we want to.
Yeah.
I generally say every morning, Hoff has this poem about angels dancing on your ears. Do you know that poem? Well, there's a Hoff has a poem about angels dancing on your ears, and it's they were there all night dancing, but we don't necessarily choose to notice that. And I notice that I remind myself every morning that all night they've been dancing on my ears. So perhaps I could wake up joyous. So.
Choosing the joy.
Yeah, that's it. That's one of the main keys.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know in the emotional wisdom training world and in that body of work, we use a lot of principles around, alignment and gathering information to unravel those old patterns too that really hold us back or get in the way, and choosing, which side or, which side of the line would you like to be on? There's like middle and joy or not joy, and recognizing that we have the choice. If we just stop and pause and breathe and assess.
Yeah.
It's like being critical. Well, it's a skill that takes practice. Like your example of being like confronting a man with a gun. There's some level of training and confidence that has to come before you're able to really carry through with that.
Well, and it's not necessarily me. It's more, it's connection, it's connection to source. So that's important too. It's staying connected, which is what my job is during the game, to stay connected to source and the angels.
It's nice to have that.
You never know what's going to happen when you step out, take a risk. When you choose to chase the rapids and dare to dance the tide,
I love that. Now is the best time, because what do we have to lose? There's so many unknowns that we're living with anyway, that we might as well risk a little more.
Well, and another story that came up for me, it's not in my chapter, but I hadn't rafted before. I was in a rubber raft, and I was with teachers, and none of us knew what we were doing. And there were like 6 people, and I was in the front, and we hit a rock, and I flew out of the raft and landed in the water, and the raft went on by me. And another raft in the water came right at me. and I realized it was going to hit me, and it knocked right straight into me, knocked me in the air, and I ended up landing in their raft. And I did the same thing. Hi, I'm Nancy Jones.
Dancing with the rapids. I love that because, yeah, it's like, don't be afraid to take the leap and break the habit of being yourself. Try something new, take the risk because you are supported, you know, and there's a lot of evidence that I'm sure, you know, we can think of examples around us or personally that, you know, there's a landing, there's somewhere to land. Trusting that.
It happened for me over and over and over. Not always as dramatically as
yeah, that's a perfect example, right?
but pretty much.
Good. So what else can you share with us about your upcoming projects and when's the next game?
Well,
how can we reach you?
My website is www.transformationsedona.com. It's being changed, but right now that's what it is. That's my website. And you can email me at nmjones@q.com. That's probably the best way to get hold of me right now. And I have ongoing games all the time, especially Canada is going to be having a group game soon. So, you know, you just let me know your interest. And if you just want to talk for 30 minutes, we can talk about what your intention would be. That's really fun to do. The next book this book, the one You Can't Stop My Magical Ass, which is the story of that is how I feel. Okay, I don't want to just say that's not a joke. It's like, it's not a joke. It's like I have magic in me. I have magic in the world. I intend to live my life that way. And that's my intention. And I will continue to do that forever. And so that chapter is just a small portion of what you see from me. And the other book is the story about the little boy that's getting a heart transplant. That's what's actually happening. But he's connecting to spirit for strength and courage and love. And there are lots of fairies in this book. So there are fairies and angels, and it'll be a children's novel. It is a children, not going to be. It is a children's novel. It's called Darb the Magnificent and His Hat of Stars. He pulls stars out of the sky to wear as a hat. So.
And how is the process of writing going for you? That's very exciting. You know, it's something that I would imagine, well, maybe not everybody, but lots of people would like to have a book. And I believe that everyone has a very interesting story and should write a book, you know. So yeah, what is the process that you go through?
Well, I'm in a writing group now, and I have a mentor and am learning to, so it's new for me, and yet I've been working on it for a long time. The little boy in the book is my stepson. It's modeled after my stepson, who had a heart transplant when he was 18. So there are parts of this that are true. He would not say he talked to any fairies. Nancy, please don't say that. So, you know,
hello, Heather. Thanks for tuning in.
Have we got a person?
Yes, we have comments. People on the Facebook and YouTube Live can comment and engage with us. It's always welcome. We love hearing from you.
I don't know what else to say. That book has been a process. You know, it started out as picture books, 5 picture books, and then it changed to chapter book. It's going to be a visionary fiction book, sort of like, modeled after A Wrinkle in Time. I mentioned that book earlier because I've been rereading it. It's
which book is that? Sorry.
Wrinkle in Time is an old
Wrinkle
book.
in Time.
It's been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I used to read it to my students when I was a teacher. So I've had a lot of life experiences. I've taught school. I've been a parole officer, a clog dancer, a janitor, waitress.
Wow, incredible.
I own 3 gift shops. What else? I directed 2 different non-for-profit agencies. But you take all those together and you put me in a transformation game guide. And
it's the perfect role. I mean, the way you can really navigate someone's intentions through that game is quite special, and anyone would be very lucky to have a turn at playing with you. And I really appreciate you joining us today to share what you've been up to. And I'm really excited about this new book launch and the one that you're writing about the little boy and the fairies. I love fairies as well, and angels. I believe we have support in so many different aspects of life, right? Whether it's being picked up by a second raft, or some support in your internal guidance systems, and generations of backing. Also, just feeling into all that.
Don't downshift to a lower dream. Never do.
Yeah, don't downshift. We're meant to evolve and develop and grow and expand. And thank you so much, Nancy. I love you, and I wish you all of the best.
Thanks for having me. Let me share.
Yes, we'll be sure to contact you and be in touch. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in today. And I hope you have a really great weekend and took something from this session today that will support you in carrying on your own journey and being an unstoppable force, such as Nancy Jones. And okay, well, I want to leave you with a question I'll explain a little bit the background of in emotional wisdom training realm. We ask 2 power questions at the end of every conversation, and every conversation is intentional in nature. So speaking about your intentions and where you're at and where you want to go. And they are, what will you take with you from this conversation that will support you till we talk again? And what will you take with you from this conversation that will support you for the rest of your life? See you next week.
Wow, what a show today, and the journey does not stop here. Come travel the world with Nicole every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time as together we become more fluent in the language of healing on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. See you next week.